All right, welcome to the Rocket Launcher podcast. This is episode 30, and I am your host, Supreme King. I am joined by my co-host. His name is...
It's the Dio Mazes.
What's going on? You know what? I actually just realized y'all gonna have to work with me for a minute because it is technically the winter, but I just realized the second I hit record that I forgot to turn off the heater, and I know it's gonna make like a certain noise, and maybe y'all can't hear it. Maybe you'll tune it out as we go, I'm sure. But yes,
I mean, as long as it ain't sounding like a monster, I think you're good. Like if it comes in, like yeah, they're gonna hear it. But
so if anybody is understanding, like, yo, that's how dedicated I was to at least try to have some quality content. Yes, I would sit here in the cold for at least 2 hours until this is done. But I guess it's just going to be on today. It's not even really snowing where we're at. We're actually having a relatively warm winter. We had some snow that melted, and I would imagine just where we're at, like we'll get some winter in February. But
probably it's gonna be a pain in February. But it was cold. I actually had a window open and I had to close it.
For the conspiracy theories out there, maybe global warming is real because technically winter is supposed to stretch from November to the end of March almost, or even as early as like the last 2 weeks in October. But for the past few years from where we're at, we've been having winter only in February, really, like, and maybe the last week in January. But
the conspiracy theory was that global warming was not real.
I don't know. I got it wrong. I haven't been watching those videos in a long time. I used to watch a lot of those videos before being a creator myself, which is completely non-gaming related. So let's talk some gaming for a second. What is on the screen is actually the very beginning of God of War Ragnarok. Is actually my footage, but I want to get my co-host's impressions because he just started it. I actually finished the main story. I'm in the in-game content still, fighting berserkers, but yeah, so a little mismatchy, but it's okay. So how do you feel about the game so far? Or I guess tell people you enjoying it. How far are you in it?
So I'm about halfway through. I took a glance just to see at like the name of story missions and everything without like detail, just to kind of like see which story mission I'm at, and I'm about halfway through for the game. I do a lot, so like I'm doing a lot of if I'm in an area and they got like 3-4 side quests up, I'm gonna do those side quests like before I leave. So I'm about like 20-25 hours in.
Okay, so yeah, I was gonna ask you like how many hours you in. So it would take you approximately 50 hours, you would say, to beat your main story.
So like when I checked yesterday, I was 18 hours in, and that was at the start of me playing, and then I like was playing for about like 8 or 9 hours. So
I just played all day yesterday.
Okay. Yeah. So but no, it's a solid game. I like the combat. Something I mentioned to you off air, which I can say here. Sony has that weird thing where they're uncomfortable with silence. So like even in travel, there's always like talking. I don't mind the like boat ones where like there's lore being talked about for the game and you get some behind the scenes stuff. But then there's parts where you're just kind of just walking from one area to the next, and they just gotta say something. Or be like, whoa, look at that. Or hey, how do we solve that? Or like, maybe if we do this, and it's like I don't need the hints sometimes. Like give me a second to like try and figure it out. But then also they'll just make random comments. Like it was like, wow, look at this area. And it's just like, I don't need you to talk. It's fine. To the point where even when certain characters are by themselves, they're just like talking. It's just like you don't need to talk. It's okay to fill like with silence. It's fine. Especially because I'll feel bad because they'll start a heavy conversation in the boat and I'm not going far and everything. And every time you get out the boat, they're like, all right, that's enough.
That just be funny to me sometimes. It'd be funny because I'm like, yo, Kratos, you good, man. You good. Because sometimes I remember he'd be like, that's enough for now. Focus. I'm like, focus on what? like, relax.
Yeah.
Relax.
It'd be hardcore. And it's just like, while we're walking around, can you just continue the conversation? Because it was like an important thing where like Mimir he asked some question. He was like, can you please tell me how you were able to do this? And it's like, all right, that's enough. Like before there was even an answer. And then we get back at the boat and it's like, by the way, you were talking about this. And she's like, or somebody was just like, yeah, I was going here. And it's like, all right, we'll like table it for now. And it's just like, I'm not going to get through the story because I'm not just going to sit in the boat and just wait while you talk. Like, so it's just continue. But that's cool. The combat is smooth. I like that. Some of the enemies are annoying. Most of them are annoying in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
Where like I guess sort of spoiler, not really. Like the little like fire pit, and it's just like the little skeleton thing comes out and everything, and it's like kind of optional. You just kind of go near it, and the thing pops out, and you fight it for some loot.
Oh boy, I could talk about that for a minute, man. The hateful is what they call them. The Draugrs, man. So like there'll be some content, or at least video content, in future episodes once we get to that point. But there's a couple of them, man. They was beating the tar out of me for a while until I really was catching on. When I first saw the first one, by the time I got to the last half of them, I was really keeping up with them, and it didn't take that long. But I remember the very first one was about an hour and a half. I was going back and forth with that one. I refused, dog. I was going back and forth. And like, the Draugrs, I think it's 6 Draugrs in total. I think it's 6 of them in total. I went through them. I went through each one. I was like by the time I got to the second half of like killing them, like I was searching for them. Like, yo, I want this smoke. I was in there looking at the map, like, where is you at? I want the smoke. But they were like the hardest in the game to me. The Berserkers are a little bit harder sometimes, but no, they really were. They really were.
That first one came out of nowhere, and it took me like 9 tries to beat. I'm gonna be honest, and I'll play it on normal difficulty. I know you play harder,
but like harder, man.
But it took me 9 tries because it caught me off guard. Because like everything else was like relative, and I was struggling at the beginning because after playing Gotham Knights so much, the controls for like dodging and then interaction are pretty much reversed between the two. So a lot of times when I'm trying to like dodge real quick, I'll hit the wrong button because I was so used to doing the dodging through Gotham Knights, and that's what kept throwing me off at the beginning. But I've gotten used to it now, so I'm fine. But that was like part of the issue. And then when I'm getting comfortable with it and I run into that thing, which I didn't even know, I was just exploring. And the thing just came out of the ground and just like smacked me silly. And I'm like, all right, hold on, I ain't going down like that. Like, so I came back at it. And like, I was like, got it about halfway down for health before it just beat me. And I was like, all right, you know what though? I don't need to come back and fight this thing. Like, I can take it down. I just got to figure out its pattern. And like, kept trying and then finally beat it. I think it says I got 4 out of 6 of them done. I will say the first one and the like second one were probably the hardest for me, but then I'm starting to get the pattern down. The third one was pretty easy. I beat it first try, and then the fourth one took me 3 tries.
On the higher difficulty, they're very, very aggressive.
I bet
they're very aggressive, and I know he has this thing where he'll, at least one of them or a bunch of them, I think they'll like smack their foot down real quick, which will make them turn into Sonic for a second, where they just really like run towards you extremely fast, and you have a split second to figure out, to dodge or parry or something. After
the part where
go ahead. I was just gonna say, after a while, what really became the most annoying thing was just like you have to keep your eye on the main one, but the other ones are just kind of there. And they're kind of like doing the same thing I just mentioned about like in Elden Ring, where like you almost beat them, but like one of them smacked you but you didn't see them because you was too focused on the main one. Like I had those moments. So the very, very first one was the one where it really was taking me like an hour and a half, and I have like I think 2 recordings of fighting it. So I'll get to that point probably in like 10 weeks because there's so much content I have on God of War. But yeah,
there was one that would like imbue itself with like explosive energy. So if you hit it, with you're supposed to throw something at it and it like knocks it out, but if you hit it, it'll explode on you. The issue was I didn't know it was doing that until my 3rd try, because like the first attempt I was fighting the side minion, and then I turned around and hit him, and I just die. And I was like, I don't understand what just happened. So then the second time I'm fighting it, it happened again, but I had more health, and I was like, what's going on? And then when I'm following it, that's when I see it imbue itself, and I run up to hit it, and that's when it explodes on me. And I was like, oh, okay, that's what's happening. But I didn't even see it the first time because of the minion. So it's just like, yo, like, why'd I just die? But
for anybody struggling with them, I would say the only thing you really got to do is just really fight defensively, fight like a Souls game. It
follow
really
its patterns.
Yeah, it really mimics a Souls game, but if you fight offensively, that's what I was doing. And you'll be there for an hour. But you fight defensively, all of a sudden they're very easy. Like you'll glance at the health and it's like already halfway down. I was like, dang, I ain't even used the special stuff yet. So yeah, the tears in the realms are sort of not as hard, but they're there. I remember them. They're harder for you.
I ran into one of them, and I was like, all right, let's try this. And I was like, I remember these are difficult, let's go. And I hit the tear, and without like any notice, the thing just flew out and slashed me, and most of my health dropped. Like it was like, and then a second one popped out, and then they just jumped me, and then like I just died. And I was like, yeah, we're not doing that anytime soon.
I did post some footage early, not on YouTube. It was like on a personal channel where I showed that I beat a round tear without taking any damage. It was like really late in the game though. So I don't know how long it's going to be before we get to that point here, because I'm going to still show variety of all these other games and stuff. But yeah, the realm tears are, I think, a little bit harder in 2018, or at least I just didn't know what I was doing there, and maybe I knew what I'm doing now. But in 2018's gameplay, I played at normal difficulty, and I remember it being way harder. You know, Valkyries as well, where on this game, I didn't play at Give Me God of War. I played at Give Me No Mercy. From what I was seeing with all the footage from other people, though, I might as well have played at Give Me God of War. There was like not much difference from what I was seeing. There really wasn't that much difference from what I saw.
Normal. I played normal, and that is enough for me right now.
Yeah. It's really it's not the bosses, it's really the random like frog creature people and stuff like that. Like when they just have 50 people on the screen almost, and it's like that's when it gets hard, because it's like very random, where the boss fights always follow a format.
It's when they're spitting things at you. That's what's getting on. It's like, stop. Like, there's a rune that I'm using. It's the one where it's like if you're spinning the Blades of Chaos, you could like hit incoming projectiles away, and I won't switch it no matter how far I get in, even though I'm getting better stuff, because it's like I can't deal with all these things just like spitting at me when I'm trying to like figure out what's going on, and get my bearings on the field and everything. Is just like spit. It's like, where are you? Like,
you know, it's funny. I barely use that in the game, if at all, where he spins the Blades of Chaos real fast and the fire spins up. I've always seen a lot of people use it. I've literally barely ever used that.
I barely
used it. I probably should have, but just barely did it.
Especially against enemies that I don't want to be aggressive at. Like there's certain enemies that I don't want to like. They're gonna like if I run at them, they're just gonna like dodge out the way and start hitting me. So I want them to come at me. I'll start
Mortal Kombat like. That get over here, I've done that for sure. That's a nice touch. The get over here.
But
Yeah.
I'll spin the blade, and then when they like run at me, then I'll just slam it onto the ground, and it pops them in the air. Oh,
Yeah. That's the funny thing. I approach the combat in a Souls like matter. And that's probably why, because that's more of an offensive thing in a way, spinning
yeah.
that and then doing it. Where I've relied, like in this footage that's being shown, I was getting the tar beat out of me because I was not like relying on the shield, but I relied on the shield a lot more in like later footage and stuff. And so by the time we got to like big enemies and everything, I was always rolling, always shielding up. I didn't use the parry shield. I used the stone wall practically the entire game.
Okay.
Even when he got like other shields, no spoilers, I guess, I still use the stone wall.
I use the one
So
that they give you right after the stone wall. Little punchy one.
yeah,
I've been
yeah.
using that, but I think I'm about to switch back to the stone wall. Uh, I kind of like the
Cause
stone wall one more, to
yeah,
be
that's the
honest.
defensive one. I mean,
Uh,
it's real needed. Like a defensive like stance or whatever is really needed at higher difficulties, obviously. So that was why I did it. Um,
Now, also on this game, story wise, without
yeah,
spoiling anything, I will say I'm enjoying the story. I haven't been pulled out of the story, but some of the writing does get on my nerves
yeah,
about certain things. Like there'll be certain things where it's just like, that could have been done a little bit better in terms of just how the character is acting. Um, but I haven't been like pulled out of the story. Where it's like I don't care about this. Like I'm enjoying this. As someone who like I'm into mythologies, but I've only really gotten into like Greek or Roman mythology.
okay,
I've never really gotten into Norse mythology. So seeing this representation of it, especially in comparison to like Marvel, like knowing that Marvel did their own thing with it. Uh but seeing the like character comparisons of like how different they're represented in Norse mythology versus how they're represented in like the Marvel world and everything has been interesting to see. Uh, so I'm into all that lore stuff and like hearing about it. But yeah, some of the story points like, but overall I'm enjoying it. Enjoying it.
so I look at the game as one big whole story, but I still would say I enjoy this game more than 2018, at least.
Ah, okay.
However, if I was to rate them out of 10, I would say they were still like equal, and I would probably put them at 8. And the only
Yeah.
reason, but it's for different reasons, you know. Um, but the biggest thing, I guess we talked about it already and then off air. Like, I think it's more of a PlayStation thing than anything where they just feel like they need to have dialogue constantly. And I think that hurts the game
Yep.
sometimes. And it's
Matter of
not
fact, I'll
really
even say
just
it.
this one,
So
it's the other ones. But yeah.
to be a little bit more specific, but like still not spoiling anything, there's a part where you're
Mm.
by yourself and the only thing near you is an animal that can't talk.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of guiding you. And you're like, you just start talking to the animal while you're doing it because you just don't want the silence in a relatively short part of like moving where they really didn't need the talking there. And then there's other little things where it's like, of course, the game is like loot heavy. So it's like, but if you veer the path, someone usually makes some sort of comment, especially if you're like on a story mission. They'll make some sort of comment about you going the opposite way, but then there'll be like a treasure chest like right there. And it's just like, stop trying to get me to like leave. Like clearly, like I'm doing the right thing. So it's just, but there's constant, just like, it's okay for a little bit of silence. Like it is fine. I
Yeah.
can take in the world and the environment and things like that without someone having to say, "Look at that tree." So
Yeah. This is a good visual to talk about this where he's walking around, he's not really doing nothing. Somebody mentioned this and I actually kind of agreed where it hurts God of War a little bit that the environment and the atmosphere and everything is just way too pretty. Where it doesn't really look rugged or almost every area in the map almost looks like paradise in a way. It looks
ah,
very nice looking. It doesn't like right here, you know, you see this deer and maybe some blood on the ground a little bit, but it's like it's not just random blood everywhere. Like you see a person asleep or not sleep, but they like hunched over dead, and you just pick up their little silver. But it's not like, it don't look like a war went through. It don't look like like it doesn't look like it looks like they fell asleep until they died or something, maybe. Like that's kind of how it look. But like the whole atmosphere looks very nice and it looks very good, but it doesn't reflect like everything that we've been talking about. Like, okay, Thor and Odin maybe have killed a whole bunch of giants and stuff. It's like we don't see carcasses anywhere, you know, titans or whatever. Like, so that's not what I took away from it for. I took away from it because of the talking a little bit. Then if I was just to say 8 out of 10, because that's still pretty high. If anything, 8.5 for this one, 8 for the other one, if I was to really just do that. But I
mean, well, personally on my scales, I think 5 out of 10 is still a playable game because it's average. It's like halfway. It's like, it's fine.
Yeah.
So and this is, I would agree, 8 out of 10. Like to me, this is like, it's like top tier with some things that I can complain about that do annoy me more than
I just
normal.
Had gripes. Little things here and there. But yeah, some of the story or some of the other stuff seems a little unnecessary, but I don't take away from it as much as I did from the first game. But yeah, it's still game of the year for me overall for 2022. But
well, I guess for a game that came out this year, game of the year, yes. But my game of the year was Persona 5 Royal, let's be honest.
For what you was playing, yeah. It just like it. If we start saying personal games of the year, if everybody's gonna really be honest, like most of their lists would be from games that came out years before. Like, I think even the first version of Persona 5 was on the PS3. So yeah. But I guess we can kind of move on. I guess since we're still in the PlayStation aspect, I can mention real quick that it was not necessarily confirmed, because I don't want to call it a confirmation until we see it, but the PS5s should be hitting the shelves soon, where you can just walk in and just put one in a cart, basically. Or at least just walk in and just get it without doing all the bundles and without doing all the... We haven't really done anything with the bots in a while, but yeah, that's what they're saying. Now, for me, I'm a realist. Like, I won't say it, or I won't confirm that until I start seeing it. You know what I'm saying? Until you could actually take pictures. Like, the Xbox Series S, the little white one, has been in stores, you know, here and there. And you can at least see that one. But for everybody else, it's like you might see somebody take a picture for the PS5 or a picture for the Series X, but until you yourself can see it wherever you personally go, you know, if I could just go to like 4 or 5 different stores in one day and it's one in each one, it's like that's when it's like, okay, yeah, it's in the stores. But I guess the other part of that news was that they mentioned that the PS5 just recently crossed like it crossed 30 million in sales, or 30 million units have been at least shipped out, at least.
Okay.
So yeah, and then they were saying that with the announcement of that they were going to ramp up production even more, and that you should actually just start seeing them in shelves. So as of right now, we don't see them in the shelves yet. I will change my tune when I actually see it, but I still felt like that for the past 2 years they handled that completely wrong. But
absolutely. Yeah, I just saw you get smacked.
Yeah, man. So like in this footage, I was new to this difficulty and I didn't know the controls at all yet. And so I was like, yo, just getting...
They did straight up assume you remembered. Like, I'm gonna be honest for the most part. I got mad. So you know the little like hints that pop, or there was something that popped up on the side, and I was in the middle of a fight, and it randomly popped up like you can do this, but it completely covered the enemy that was about to hit me, and I couldn't tell what type of attack it was about to do. Right, so it has the like whole like if it's red you can't block it, if it's yellow you can parry. I couldn't see it, right, like anymore, and then it just zooms up and attacks me, and I'm like, why is this box in the way? And there's no button to get rid of it. Oh, I was eaten.
Yeah, I think they color coded it like the blue is like a shield strike, the yellow or green is like you can probably just block it with no problem, and then red is like you better get out the way. Yeah. That's what I remember. But yeah, if you can see, I'm getting the tar beat out of me because it was the first time having combat in the game since like the last time I played it, which was like 2020, and I just turned the difficulty up and went straight in, didn't even know the controls. So it is what it is. I will get better as time goes on in the footage, and you'll see, not in this footage, but you'll see in future footage that I got a lot better. But yeah, I guess so. For more PlayStation news, I guess we can talk about a PlayStation showcase that you saw that was short and sweet. And you mentioned there was a new controller as well. So what's going on with that?
So Sony had their Consumer Expo showcase, the CES, and they gave like 5 minutes to PlayStation. So it was a nice, quick show where they first talked about PSVR 2 and some more games that were coming to it. So like Beat Saber and like some of the more popular ones are still coming to PSVR. Okay. And then they ended with talking about this new customizable controller for accessibility stuff. So it's a just a circular pad like controller with like the buttons on each now, almost like a you remember the Simon Says where it's like the red, blue, green, yellow to give you a pattern and you got to press the right one?
Yeah.
It looks like one of those, but you get to move which color is where, and it's just the buttons, so like square, X, R2 or L2 or whatever. And you can move them around, so you're able to like fully customize the pad and like hit the buttons as you need. For somebody who can't like necessarily hold a regular controller, or maybe holding a regular controller like starts to hurt too long. For whatever accessibility needs you have, they're releasing that controller, and I thought it looked neat. Like it looked like a really cool controller. In terms for somebody who needs it. So it's cool to see that like they're making it easier for like everyone to be able to play. So it just seems like a very like, oh yeah, duh, you should have made this right away. Like it's almost like how easy you can work an arcade machine and everything. Yeah. You just get to pick where the buttons go.
I guess I could add to that for anybody who plays more universally, so all the systems. I was looking recently at driving wheels, and I'm not really big on just driving games. I was just like, let me just take a look. But they're now starting to have some more affordable wheels that run on like all the systems. Like I saw one that was as low as $60. Now it might not be as good a quality, but the main driving wheels usually run like almost $1,000. Some of them are like $600 or $700, and that's like their lowest. But now they're starting to show some third-party ones, at least on Amazon, where they work on all the modern systems, and they're like in the like under $100 range or close to $100 range, which is actually very low for those type of wheels. Because like anybody who's like really into that, like they spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars, almost like an arcade cabinet, but it's just a wheel that goes on your desk, and like you have the pedals underneath and a few wires all over the place, and then you can like really turn your racing games into like actual simulators in a way. Even with like Mario Kart. Like I think actually, so there's a racing reel specifically for the Switch that they sell in Walmart. It's like crazy small though. It looks like it's just for the kids, but it's specifically designed. It's designed for Mario Kart exclusively, but you can still play with other Switch games. But they do have one of those in there that's like relatively cheap. It's just like if you got big hands, it's probably not gonna be good for you. Like my hands are like more medium sized to big, so it's not. It wouldn't.
I have them. I have them somewhere. I don't know where I put them, but I had got them when I first got my Switch because Mario Kart was one of the main games I got. And you just like stick it in there and you're able to drive with it. One, I found it easier to just hold the controller. Yeah. Even if you have the Joy-Con separate, for it to pick up what's going on. Because like it almost feels like to lightly turn, you had to like fully like 180 or 90 degree the wheel to like get it to actually do something. But no, I mean they're small. They're really small and I have fat hands, so yeah.
For the really good ones, you're still looking at like VR prices. So I remember just making a joke like, man, you might as well just drive your car. Just go drive your car. Drive to work. That should get it out of your system. So yeah. So
you know what? Speaking of cars, though.
Yeah.
Speaking of cars, that's a nice transition to the last news about Sony. There's a prototype car coming out, and this one I gotta give credit to for PC Gamer, because they're the main ones talking about it. But the Afeela, which is like it's a team up with Honda to make this new electric car. Apparently, like you're gonna be able to like play the PS5 and like watch movies in the back seat and everything. One of those. Okay. And they showed it where like on the driver's side. Yeah, it's like on the driver's side back seat they had Netflix on, and on the passenger side back seat they had Horizon Zero Dawn. So like you have them both doing stuff at the same time. But then they said that they mentioned something about how like the opportunities for like interactive something was like endless, and the moment they said that, there was like an advertisement for like Spider-Man in the background, and I think what people were reading that as, at least what PC Gamer read that as, is I think while you're like charging the car, like there might be like panels on the outside of your car that just starts playing ads. So what they're seeing is like they might end up doing something where like if you agree to like let ads play on the outside of your car or whatever, then you get to get it for cheaper or something like that, like because you're doing ad revenue or something. But that might be the future where ads are everywhere. That's what PC Gamer was thinking. But like it was a weird concept, but like they got a new electric car coming out in 2026. Main thing is if you want a PS5 in the backseat of your car for some reason, you can do that.
Yeah, as long as it's in the back seat, it ain't the driver's seat. Because I know people be modding their cars where they had like the screen on their radio, and I'm like, man, you only asking for it because some of y'all not as good as y'all think y'all are. But I think that also could transition real quick. Just something I didn't even write down, but I remember was talked about while we had our tiny hiatus. Because I don't know if anybody know, the podcast from last week was, if anybody's really like listening on a week-to-week basis, first of all, thank you, and then hit the like button. But it was a pre-record from like 2 weeks ago. We recorded before Christmas, and we actually skipped Christmas. And one of the main reasons why I came to that conclusion, because I was like, I want this to still be fun. I don't want it to be stressful. And I thought something like 3 recordings in one. It's like, now we're defeating the purpose because we ain't got no money coming from this yet. So it's like, let's just relax, because technically I'm still very transparent and aware that the podcasts are like the least viewed content just because of how long it is. And I can understand that. Like asking somebody to go through 2 hours and they don't know me yet, I can understand, but we still would have had the conversation regardless. But it would have been a little much just to try to record 3 of them in one thing. But we recorded 2. We do 2 sometimes when we got stuff going on. But yeah, to get back to the other subject, like the ads thing. So there was a news piece that came out that there might have been, I don't know if it's too confirmed because it hasn't happened yet either. It's almost like the PlayStation 5 being in the stores, but on the Xbox side, it was mentioned that there might have a tier come where you can get Game Pass for like $3 a month, but it was going to be littered with ads everywhere. Like where you play it, like everything you played was going to have ads in it, basically. But you would have had access to Game Pass for just $3 a month. And so it was like, well, that's kind of like a like you have to really think about that, like take it with a grain of salt. Like how many ads? Like we don't know because it's not real yet. It hasn't happened yet. But if we're looking at $3 a month, 12 months, it's like that's not a lot of money, really.
Yeah, but imagine being in the middle of a boss fight and a little timer goes down in the corner, like 5, 4, 3, and you know, like an ad's coming up. Like,
and I think the other thing too was that, like with Game Pass, one of the things that's known is that you have day and date releases, where that tier, it wouldn't be day and date. You still have to wait 6 months. I think that was a thing I think people were saying, and so like, for example, I guess Starfield, when Starfield finally comes out, you still have to wait 6 months and then it still ads. But you only spent $3 that month, and each month going up. So I don't know. It's like,
so the idea basically is you still get access to a bunch of games for $36 a month with ads, and
36
you don't
a
have
year.
to buy new one, or 36 a year. Yeah, with ads, you don't have to buy a new one, even though you'll still have to. I mean, for people who like,
it's just mad cheap. Yeah, it's mad cheap. So people kind of forgiving because it sounds atrocious, but at the same time, it's really forgiving when you think, okay, it's 30 something a month. That's like gas for a few days or whatever. Yeah.
But the thing is, I feel like that'll be beneficial for someone like they work a lot, they got kids, things like that, and they're just not gonna like really have time to play, and they don't want to have to like spend a bunch of money on the new game because they don't know how much time they'll have to actually like really play it. But when they do find random times to play games, they can look to see what's available and have some fun. I feel like that's okay.
I remember, I think we talked about this a long time ago. I don't know if it was during, like before the podcast. It might have been before the podcast officially exists, but we were talking about how at one point they were going to try to find a way to introduce ads into everything in the subscription services. And I think that's a future thing. And this might be the guinea pig for it just because of how cheap that is. That's at the same time, it's like, as a working adult, now I can't speak for everybody, but you should be able to probably find $15 a month to pay for the full thing. Kinda. I know that might seem a little elitist in a way, but
it is. It depends, because you got to remember that it's easy to find $15 a month relatively for most. If you're a working adult,
if you're a working adult without kids,
like maybe a family and like things like that. Like if you got like 4 kids, you may not like really have $15 to just like throw somewhere else. Like
but that's what you would give to them, though.
But like
that's the main reason why you would get it. I got 4 kids, so I gotta.
I mean, that would be the reason why I have it. I ain't buying no games like for $70. Like you getting this and just play what's on Game Pass.
It would suck because they would want Nintendo games. They would want Nintendo, and then that's the most expensive.
Not all of them I didn't as a kid. As a kid, I didn't want Nintendo. I wanted PlayStation only. Like I was into Tekken and everything. That was what I wanted. So.
They want whatever the streamer is showing them. That's kind of where we're at right now. It's like if their favorite streamer is pulling this game up, it's like now they want that. And what's funny about that, they don't want it anymore the second the streamer just stops. It's like that's where everybody's attention is right now. I think that's kind of how it is with that generation. No offense, I know that might sound somewhat offensive, but yeah, for me, I don't see myself getting a $3 tier if it ever existed. I don't think I would do that. For that, I think that's compromising a little much on my end. I would rather just do what I've been doing and just wait for the sales, buy each game individually, even on the Xbox. Like I wouldn't, not at a $3 tier like that. Game Pass, I have no problem with the regular one. I know everybody be trying to do that little sneaky $1 deal. Like they'll do the $1 deal, let it lapse, and then do it again under a different email and stuff. They'll do all of that. Like that seems a lot of time consuming to do. Like I would just buy the game. That's just me. Like Starfield is time
consuming unless you're doing that with all the streaming platforms. Like if you're regularly doing this, so you don't have to pay for any of them, and you don't feel like pirating. Like, I mean, you're already making a new email for all of them. You might as well just one more thing to add on there.
I don't know if I want to say it because I'm gonna get canceled.
You about to insult people even though you used to pirate everything and like sit here and still like you judging other people now? Is that what's happening? You just judging other people?
You could, put that app in. But I'll just we'll let that go because
there's some people who do that, but like if I don't know, like I've seen some people who just like they don't know how to get.
I gotta go there, man. I'm going to go there. In the days of us walking around eating White Castle, shout out to Nasty Chinese Food Dynasty. I'll call them Dynasty because everybody used to call them Dynasty. I still have the money to buy WWE 2K12. I found a way to do it. I still found a way to get the job done. 2K13. I'm trying to think of the games that came out.
Okay, but time. Let's also keep in mind this too. We had funds to like buy the games. I had funds to have all the streaming platforms. I mean, I want to do it. Right? Maybe there's people out there who just straight up don't want to. Like, I don't want to buy the game. Like, I don't want to wait for a sale. I want to play it the day it comes out. Mm-hmm. I don't want to buy the game, especially because who knows if I'll even like it or not. And I just don't want to buy it because, like, when I'm done with it forever. I don't care about having a collection.
Right.
I'm never going to play it again. And if I don't play games all the time, and you're like, I can spend $15 a month and do it, or I can spend $3. It's the same thing for Hulu. I'm on Hulu every day, but, like, I just sit there through the ads because I don't want to pay $15 a month for ad-free Hulu. Right. Like, I'll pay the $5 a month and just take the ads, even though, again, like, with the amount of Hulu that I watch, you would think I would just get the ad-free one. Like, but I just sit there and suffer through ads. That might be this person. They're just like, I'm going to sit there and suffer through these ads because I'm trying to save. Not even save. It's I don't want to spend the dollar. I'm being stingy with my money. It don't even have to be they can't. They just don't want it.
Yeah, I don't want to suffer through that for certain games. So, like, the game on screen is still God of War. I could not imagine all of a sudden Burger King or something just like popped on my screen. I could not imagine that.
I was gonna say, do we know the extent of the ads? Like, is it like before you start playing? Here's these like
we don't know because it's not real yet. Yeah, we don't know. It has not happened yet. All that we know. So there's been so much news with Game Pass that has been non-official. Like, I remember hearing people saying like there was all of a sudden confirming that the price was going to go up. It's like that was almost like a fanboy thing in itself for a while, where people just wanted they wanted the price to go up so bad just to stick it to the people who like it. I guess it was just goofy. It was just goofy. It's just like, if it gets too expensive, then you would just buy the game the way you normally would buy it. Like, what are we talking about here? But the gatekeeping is crazy. All I know is that officially everything is still the same, where you pay $15 a month normally, and then you have the $1 deal for the first month that people exploit every now and then, right? And then there's like the whole thing for a while, like if you just bought Xbox Live, like you could buy up to 3 years and then just convert it by spending $1, and then you pay like way less and it converted like full 3 years of Game Pass. Like, they were allowing them to do that at one point for a while. I don't know if that's still going, but yeah, that's the official news. Now, unofficially, it was like, okay, there's going to be a family package at one point. And then Phil Spencer at one point said he can't promise that the price won't go up eventually one day just due to inflation and everything else that's going on. Somebody asked him. And I just got to say, like, Phil Spencer, homie, you need to stop doing all these interviews. Because it's really working against you sometimes. Like, I don't need to hear your update on the Activision thing all the time. I don't need to hear. I just need you to just be quiet for a while and then come back with your games. And that's like, this is 2023. We're supposed to get Redfall. We're supposed to get Starfield, and then like other stuff. Avowed, Fable, Hellblade 2. There's another Forza. So there's a bunch of games that's supposed to, at least, I don't know all of them gonna come out this year, but like Elder Scrolls 6 is probably not gonna come out this year, obviously. But there's a bunch of them that's supposed to start rolling out. It's like, that's all I need to hear from you. I do not need to hear you do all this PR stuff that you've been doing. But the stuff that was coming out, separate news over time, there was going to be a family deal at some point. That hasn't happened yet, so it's still not confirmed, right? And then there's the $3 thing with 1,000 ads that we heard about, and we don't know the extent of it. I just know that particular version compromises the experience way too much for me personally. I would literally just wait and get the games one by one, even if, because as a working adult too, if you really didn't have that much time, you only got enough time to play one of them anyway. Amazon's gonna have you covered. I can confirm this myself. It's not even just a Black Friday thing. I always get something on my Amazon list or something on a Steam list or any other list that drops below $20 every month. And I have the choice to buy it or not, or wait. Right? Like, so, yeah, for me personally, the $3 thing, if it ever happens, if it ever becomes official, it's a no for me, dog. I do not need my, like right here on screen, right before this moment, bam, you get like a McDonald's thing. Like I couldn't imagine getting those type of ads or something, especially because it's gonna be stuff you don't even like. It's like I could see if it was like trailers from similar like game developers. It's like, man, it's gonna be stupid Raycon earrings or whatever he was selling at one point, underwear and all that stuff. The G Fuel. I don't want to see none of that in my game. I barely want to see that on YouTube.
It's gonna be Raid Shadow Legends.
Like what? Like, yeah, and then with like God of War is like super lore heavy because you're doing a whole bunch of like, you see, I'm getting my butt kicked.
You was laughing at me during this part too.
Yeah,
like
I didn't know the controls yet, but I battled. I didn't just die. Like, yeah, I battled. See, I got some health back.
What you trying to say? Like, I fought. What you mean? And I was also learning the controls.
I was learning, but yeah, but it's cool. Like, I couldn't imagine. It would be crazy if they actually did that in boss fights too. Like, you're in a boss.
Like, imagine like game. Here you die and then like here's a quick ad. And then like you gotta get back into it, which will be even more annoying because you just died. Like, oh, a Souls game?
No. So Souls games keep going if you press start, right? Or if you pause, right? It keeps going. So like, what if the game keep going, but you gotta watch the ad? Like, you come back from the ad and your health is down and they beating on you or you just dead. And it's like you couldn't even help it. You had to watch the ad, but it's like the Souls game keep going. It's like,
nah, I'm punching the screen.
That would like be hilarious.
Like the gamer rage moment.
Yeah, that would be hilarious. Like, yo, you still gotta watch the ad, and the game's still going.
I did hear like some of the racing games, they were trying to figure out a way to implement like personalized ads on billboards as you drive through it.
See, that's the thing. See, I'm all for it just being on the billboards in the game. Like, if it was, I've seen people mod real ads into Grand Theft Auto and took out the like the make believe names and like had Best Buy in there. I saw IKEA in there, and it was just stores that you drove past, right? Like, I can understand that, but just something literally flashing on the screen where it just stops completely, or you're in a loading screen that's way longer because instead of the loading screen, it loaded the ad. It's like, nah.
You're gonna be a God of War, and you go, instead of like the CRN chest, it's gonna have a McDonald's logo, the G Fuel logo, and a Raid Shadow Legends logo that you gotta find to hit it. That's gonna be the ads.
But imagine also like you are playing the game, right? And the ad is like it's to the point where the ad takes precedence over fixing a game that might have launched broken. And it's like they have to now make sure ads are more implemented in the ad version of games for these lower tier like subscription services or something instead of fixing a bug.
Oh, yikes.
You know what I'm saying? Because like as time goes on, you got to put new ads in there to replace the old ones. Similar to like how in GTA 5 they keep updating the radio and putting new songs in the radio that's like on the radio today that would have never been in the game like 10 years ago. Right? So like instead of like fixing a game that may have been broken at launch, you got to make sure ads are in this spot, this spot, this spot. This, like development time goes to that now instead of you just like fixing and making sure the game is polished. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because even if you buy the game at full price, the developers still have to like cater to that more if it's costing or if they're getting more money from it. It's like the percentage of people who bought a disc-based game is going to be the lowest, and then the people who do the ad generated subscription is going to be higher. And so I feel like that hurts. That would hurt it a lot more. I would rather just give me the $15 Game Pass where I just get access to the game, you know, while it's in the service. Like I would rather have that than, yeah. So I don't know. It's still all speculation because none of that was confirmed. But yeah, so I just wanted to mention that. Let me put something else in here. So I guess I can mention this real quick because it's going to get us to the halfway point and it'll be quick. Recently, Elden Ring, which was the main Game Awards, it won Game of the Year, but apparently it is now the most rewarded game and it's dethroning Last of Us 2 because apparently Last of Us 2 was like the most rewarded game before this from like everybody who called themselves having an awards show. And so Elden Ring now has a little bit more rewards, I guess, and so it's the most rewarded game period. So I don't know how they determine that. I guess like if you are a official publication and you decide to have your own award and you can, maybe that's how it counts, because I only count the main gaming show because they show the actual like trailers of new games and then, you know, long speeches and stuff.
Yeah, so I think every publication like gives their own awards, like IGN, What Culture.
Yeah,
like all of them do their own different things. So then I guess whoever racked them all up and counted. Yeah. Steam has awards. I'm sure PlayStation does its own awards too.
That would bias. Like they ain't gonna have no Xbox stuff.
Nah.
Or like they'll have the
PlayStation award. Like, what are the best games that you could play on PlayStation, and Elden Ring could still win? You know, so
no Bayonetta would be on that award show.
Of course not. Like, so just like if Nintendo did an award show, you're not gonna see
the Nintendo award show would be
like
hilarious.
Horizon. Like
that would be the most hilarious one. Yeah. That'd be funny if like at a PlayStation award so Horizon still doesn't win an award. Shout out to this footage, man. I'm coming back. See, I'm starting to get it. I'm starting to understand.
Yeah. You was just throwing that axe at him, just over and just chipping away.
Yeah, I didn't know what I was doing. I had to learn how to, because I still didn't rely on the shield as much as I should have. I was just like really relying on rolling.
But it feels weird, like being like the God of War, and it's like, what's your best move? Blocking. It's just like, I don't want to block. I want to run it and stab it.
Yeah. But shout out to the bear. But yeah, so Elden Ring probably is looked at as one of the greatest games of all time now, I guess. That's how they're trying to treat it. Yeah, and then it's the greatest and not the worst, but I guess we could speak on the worst game of all time. You want to give us an update on this Pokemon? What are you talking about, man? What's going on?
It's not the worst game of all time. Like, all right. Okay, anyways, I had said before in one of the earlier podcasts in like November that like at the end of like December or by Christmas time I would have like a full finished game review, and that ain't gonna happen because I've been playing too many things and I am like nowhere near the end of this game. But I can give a more detailed review as I've done pieces of each of the different types of missions in the game. So I will say this: it is a very involved Pokemon game. If you could get through like the occasional stutter, which I know some people can't, they're just not gonna want it. They want it extra polished, like do you? But like if you could get through that, which for me it was easy to do, they really mean do your own thing. Like there was straight up, I just decided there was a particular Pokemon that I wanted to evolve, right? And in order to evolve it, I needed to get to this one area and either beat or catch this one type of Pokemon, right? But the Pokemon appears what they just said in ruins. So I had to like look up where all the locations were for ruins, find one that I could get to, and then just go look for the ruins in this open area until I can find it because it's like a little small part where it just looks like destroyed buildings and everything. So I found it in the desert and then dealt with that, like finding this Pokemon in the open area, was able to catch a bunch of them. Then I needed to go do one of the side quests where I took down one of the Titan Pokemon, and it's because I needed the ability to surf. And you get the ability to surf after you beat that Titan Pokemon. So I did that, got the ability to surf, and then I was able to get to this one town that was only accessible via surf to get there so I could go talk to this guy in the middle of town to get this piece of equipment. That's the equipment I needed to evolve the Pokemon. So it was like, if I wanted this one Pokemon to evolve, here's all these little things that I got to do. And it was like, in a normal game, you would just kind of have to progress until you get it. I was able to just kind of stop what I was doing and go, I want to go do this. And I was able to just go directly and do it. In like other areas that I haven't been at before. So it was like a lot of exploring. It is really make your own adventure. I would say for someone who is, I guess, really into like RPGs, it's a good game to jump into. If you're just like wanting to try out Pokemon, I would not suggest this one first, only because it can feel a bit overwhelming if you're not used to Pokemon stuff. Because there's even a mix of Pokemon in the area where you'll go around and most of them are like kind of close to the level you are, and then it'll just be certain Pokemon that are just like 10 levels above. So it's just like, yeah, avoid those because they're gonna like wipe the floor with you. And come back when you're stronger so you can actually catch them. But like, it's not like linear at all. You just go do the missions as you please. As you get close to certain key missions, somebody will do the little phone call thing and tell you you're by the mission and everything, but you can tackle them in any order that you want. Of course, to get to the Elite Four, you got to beat all the gyms, and I think they did. I saw some suggestions saying you want to jump around between the three missions typically instead of just focusing on one, because if you focus on, let's say, the Elite Four one, by the time you finish the Elite Four, you're gonna have like a solid, really strong team, and then as you go to try and tackle the other missions, all your Pokemon are gonna be too strong. So if you're not the type that wants to like switch out your entire team to tackle different stuff, then you jump around between the missions as you go around. They have some cool mechanics where it's like they mixed into like for the gym badges, there's like a little puzzle thing you have to do first, then you can go face off and get the gym leader. Like actually do a gym battle. The enemy base stuff is interesting because it uses the mechanics of you can just throw your Pokemon out and it fights on its own. And you can throw like 3 of them out and they just have to run through the base and start taking out Pokemon in a time limit on their own. And then you get to face off against the boss. And it's like an actual boss fight where it's like a raid sort of thing where it just has like a lot of health. And you're going to have to constantly keep like re-upping your health and taking this thing down in like stages. So they put in like legit like boss fights in the game as well. stories are interesting. They all have their own little like story path that they're going through that you learn more about as you go through. But I would just say it's a really fun Pokemon game. So again, the main issue that I've had is like an occasional stutter if I'm running through a field. But nothing that like game broke or like destroyed the experience for me. I have not played multiplayer with other people, so I heard that was where you get all the issues. Is when you're in the multiplayer stuff. That's where you start getting all the glitches and everything like that. I have not done that, so I can't talk on that. But everything that I've done solo, I haven't had anything game breaking. And it's been good. It's a fun game. Enjoying it.
All right, I'd have one quick question before I transition to the halfway point. One thing that I mentioned when I was going through the coverage of Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity was that I wanted to just hit home for the people that there was a patch update for it and that I didn't see the same performance as what they probably saw at launch with other channels if they haven't bought it. But my question is, was there like a patch update with, I guess, from Christmas to now maybe, or something like that? Like where you have a download or whatever? Like,
think there was, I don't know if between Christmas till now, but I know that there was a patch.
Okay.
But it's early Christmas, like early December, there was a patch in the game. I remember because they had me download it, and they even said that they were working on like further patches, and if there's an issue, like email it, like let them know, like this is where you ran into an issue and stuff, and they're gonna like work on it, I guess. But like there was a patch.
Okay. All right. Well, that's the main thing, I guess, for anybody who is on the fence. So we're at the halfway point. Hit the like button. Anybody wondering, the game on screen is Code Vein. I still got plenty of their footage, so just showing some of it. I think that footage is short though. But at the halfway point, I usually transition to our unofficial sponsor. That's been our unofficial sponsor this entire time. That they need to sponsor us. Well, they sponsor us with free games, and so everybody loves free stuff. So the free stuff is coming from Epic Game Store. We've said it plenty of times before, if you've been following, that you don't need your debit or credit card in order to access this. You just need to create an account and start claiming the games as they come out. And so from now until January 12th of as of this recording, the two games that's supposed to be free is the first one is Kerbal Space Program, and then Shadow Tactics, how you say his name? Akoi's Choice. I pretty much.
I don't have it open. Hold on.
I butchered it. Akoi's Choice, I guess. I don't know. Shadow Tactics and then Kerbal Space Program. Claim it from now to January 12th, and then from January 12th to January 19th, it's Aiko.
Aiko's Choice. Yeah, Aiko's Choice. AIKO. Aiko.
My brain farted, man, but it's okay. From January 12th to January 19th, it's First Class Trouble. And I also wanted to mention, so we kind of covered it, but because it was a pre-record, we didn't really get into detail. But basically, during the holiday time, they had a game every day leading up until December 30th, if I'm not mistaken. And so most of the games were just the same type of stuff you see right here with these releases. No offense to the developers.
I missed 3 of them.
But one of them was...
I completely forgot they were coming out. And then I remember there was like 3 days that I missed.
I caught all of them except for the first one, if I remember correctly. And I think we addressed that before. But the main big one that they gave away, they did one day where it was like a bunch of Fallout, if I remember correctly. But then another one was Death Stranding, and it was a little bit of a controversy because... I did get that one. Like, it was advertised on other websites and stuff that it was going to be the director's cut version, but it actually wasn't. And I was able to confirm myself once I claimed it that it was still the regular version, and then they gave you like the upgrade where it was like you could pay for the $10 upgrade. But I didn't do that because I actually owned the director's cut version on PS5 already. So I most likely will still just play that version, but I still, claimed it, I guess, the base version, just because it was free.
Yeah, I claimed the base version. I don't know if I'm ever gonna get to it, so that's why I'm not too torn up about it not being the director's cut version. But
I had the disc version of the base game on PS4 and got the director's cut upgrade for the PS5 digitally by putting the disc in and all that stuff. So I had did that way before. And I guess Death Stranding 2 is going to come out eventually, and then all of that. But it was somewhat of a controversy for a split second, but I mean, free was free, so it didn't really last that long. It was like people was mad for like one day. And I think that was the big Christmas release, if I'm not mistaken. It was just like, here it is for Christmas, but it was still Christmas, so it didn't really run. Like that story didn't really stick. But yeah, I just thought I would mention that. And so, yeah, moving on with that, we're back to the regular Epic releases. So those are the releases. So definitely, hop on it if you can. I always pull it up on my phone if I'm not on my computer, even though I'm usually always on my computer. I can pull it up on my phone if I'm out and I'm thinking about it. And I also wanted to just give a quick shout out to a game that I saw that is, it's got a funny long title, but it reminded me of like how Elden Ring was Game of the Year. And so a lot of Souls-like games are starting to appear. Another one that's coming out that's right around the corner is Wolong Destiny, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's the name. That one's got a lot of hype, and I think that's coming out very, very soon. But my co-host wanted Stray to be Game of the Year.
It should have been.
It did not make Game of the Year, but we did see another game appear that might have taken some inspiration from Stray. And so this one is called Gory Cuddly Carnage Fast and Furious. It sounds so hilarious to say that out loud. But it's a long title. So Gory Cuddly Carnage Fast and Furious. It's actually a skateboarding game where you play as a cat on the skateboard. And he's like completely cartoon styled out and has got his own like thing. And yeah, so that's a game that was announced.
It's cartoon, but realistic. Like the cat itself is supposed to be like high def, but like everything around it is cartoon. It's weird.
So yeah, so we might start seeing a few cat spin-off games in the future, maybe. And this is the first one coming from after Stray. Maybe we might get an actual like Garfield game, like a Garfield, like you play as Garfield, you running around doing stuff. I don't know. Or
would he just lay around and eat lasagna? Like,
I don't know. I know they had a Garfield racer, if I'm not mistaken, but people liked. They had a Garfield racer, but yeah. So if anybody is interested, that's out there. Another thing I just wanted to mention real quick, and then I'll ask you. So other games that I've been playing recently. So I've covered a lot of Nintendo this week, and it was mainly centered around Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. So I had a nice time with that. I was really satisfied with that, and then I moved on to this game called Alan Wake. Everybody knows Alan Wake, and I'm just now getting back to it. It was something that I started a while back and just like stopped. And so I played it on Series X. It is ridiculously smooth on Series X. I think it's like it runs at 120 on Series X, and I wasn't really like used to that. I'm used to like games being at 60 on console. That one runs at 120 because it's pretty much old. But well, real quick, just to piggyback off the Hyrule Warrior stuff, long story short, definitely get it at a sale. If you still want to do 45, because that's where I've been seeing it. I avoided it at 45. I was like, I don't think that's really worth 45. I still don't think it's worth 45. There's a lot of other Zelda games that was like $30 this past like holiday season. I think that's the sweet spot for that game. However, you do still want to play it before Tears of the Kingdom. It's like the main thing I was saying before. But it is not a prequel to Breath of the Wild. I think that was something else I mentioned. That's actually true. It's not a prequel. Which I didn't know until going into it. That's the main thing. But now for Alan Wake, I'm a little shaky on this. Like it's a horror game in its core, I think. So I understand what's going on with it. It's just I'm not too used to horror games that's not Resident Evil. Now Resident Evil, you could just shoot people and stuff, and you don't really run out of bullets as quickly, even though it's like a survival. With this game, Alan Wake, you will run out of bullets quick if you shooting too much. But once you run out of bullets, that's it. You can't, there's no hand-to-hand combat. You gotta try to run, but all the enemies are faster than you, so they're gonna always catch up to you and then just like smack you basically with their weapons and stuff. And you're pretty much doomed to die. Like you, that's just it. Yeah. You are doomed to die. You cannot, and it was kind of annoying to me. And I'm just like you can't outrun at least or do like some speed running. Like, no, you really can't. Like usually in horror games, you can speed run past a certain point. It's okay. It's like not with Alan Wake. Like some of those checkpoints, you have to clear the area before. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, but, those are the type of horror games I don't really like to play. Because like I said, I don't like to feel helpless in a video game. Like I'm playing it to be stronger than everybody.
It'd be goofy too, because it's like, dog, like some of the enemies are still kind of like face to face your size. Like you can't punch him at least. Like he right up on you with an axe. Like, man, like if you really can't get out the way, at least can you punch or something? Like you really just can't. So, but I will say, when I first played the game, I played the first chapter and then I stopped, and like many months went by. And so I played the second chapter and was actually able to get footage. I'm going to play the third chapter all the way to the sixth chapter, probably next week or within the next 2 weeks. I'm probably not going to play this as often back to back. If it was good, like if I really liked it, I would have played it like completely through. But I don't really like it that much. I'll just be honest, I don't. But it is like 6 chapters for the base game, and then there's like the American Nightmare, I think is what it's called, which is like a standalone DLC where it's an additional 4 hours, and I bought that on PC. And so I think between the two, you're looking at 10 to 12 hours, but just with the base Alan Wake game, this is the game that also still got a remastered version. It's like 6 hours long, or 6 or 7 hours long, which is typical for horror games, I guess. So I can't be too mad about it. This is one of those things where it's like, I'm actually more happy about it because I wanted to get done quickly because it really is that annoying. So yeah, it's very story driven, I guess. I don't think I want to make a solo vid on Alan Wake, to be honest. Okay. So I just wanted to get my bars off here. But I know they're going to have a part 2. Automatically, I'm like, well, I got to see how if they do introduce combat or something. I'm pretty sure they're going to do something because the king of horror games right now is Resident Evil, and Resident Evil still has some sort of hand-to-hand combat if you run out of bullets. Like at one point in some of the games they went full WWE, right? But
drop kick.
Yeah. They do the Ugly Boys move. I could have sworn we somehow did that, if I remember correctly.
Something like that. Yeah.
We did something I was like, yo, they really put the 3D in here, but yeah. I'm not ruling out Alan Wake 2 at all. And I know, the Silent Hill games are kind of the same thing. It was just jarring getting back into a horror game after so long, where in between that time, the only thing horror related that I've ever been playing in the past like 3 years has been just Resident Evil. And I'm so used to still just being able to do stuff if you run out of bullets, you usually don't run out of bullets that fast either. You still can still find something eventually. It's like, man, Alan Wake, somehow, some way, man, it's like another thing. I know I don't want to just like get too carried away, but I don't like, this is for every game, including Borderlands. When we was playing Borderlands, I do not like it when you are shooting them point blank and they just don't fall. I feel like it should be an instant kill for some of them. When you are point blank and you aim at the head sometime, and it's like, it's not a one hit kill. You still got to get at least 4 bullets into them. You know, I don't like
man.
That I don't like. It don't, because it don't make sense. It's like, bro, I'm right in front of you. You're not even a zombie. Like with Resident Evil, is like, it makes some sense when they are zombies. It's like, you're not even a zombie in some of these other games, but Borderlands especially, I was just like, bro, I'm right in front of this thing, but it's at a higher level. So all of a sudden it could take a headshot. All right.
Yeah, man. That's how it works.
Little gripes with games. It's not just the Alan Wake thing, but yeah. So that's it. Alan Wake is going to go by real quick, and then I'm going to be playing like Witcher 2 on that system, and then A Plague's Tale: Innocence on PS5, I'm sure. I don't know what else I'm going to play on Nintendo until Tears of the Kingdom. I was expecting the Age of Calamity to last a little bit longer. I don't know why. I thought I was going to have to play or have to rent it like 3 times. I rented it once. I didn't buy it for 30. It was never a 30. If it was 30, I probably would have bought it, but it never went past 45. But yeah, I'm telling y'all to wait till it's 30. I might actually go get it if it's 30. But yeah, so those are the games that I'm playing right now currently. Are you playing anything else other than God of War?
So I've been playing Fall Guys still. And I've been playing Pokemon, and I've been playing Madden, and then Persona 5 Strikers.
Oh yeah, you moved on to Strikers.
So I started that. It was pretty cool. It takes place from the original Persona 5 story instead of Persona 5 Royal. But no, it's smooth combat. It's chaotic on the screen, but like enjoyable. But like it's, you know, I mainly been playing God of War. It's kind of been like the main thing, and then of course we've been playing the Division 2. So.
Oh yeah, I also should mention, I was playing Persona 5 Royal. I'm still playing it, so I'm in the position right now where I'm trying to go through my backlog before I start anything else new. And I honestly don't want to start nothing else new until Tears of the Kingdom come out, which is in May. So my backlog really was that long. And I actually have it in front of me on a sheet of paper because I had to rewrite it because it was like fading off. So I can mention it real quick. One of the games is Celeste. I did not finish the online stuff on GTA 5, so that's here. Maneater is here. Digimon Cyber Sleuth is here. These are all games I haven't completed but started. Guacamelee Super Turbo Championship Edition.
Bro, I have 1 level left on that, and I don't know why I have not beaten it. Like Guacamelee, I'm on the last level, like for that game, but I have not beaten it.
And then Hollow Knights, Void Heart Edition, and then there was Alan Wake, so I'm just now restarting Alan Wake, or just picking up where I left off. Persona 5 Royal, Witcher 2, Plague's Tale: Innocence, that's all here. Monster Hunter World, Banjo-Tooie, the sequel to Banjo-Kazooie, originally on N64. Star Wars: The Force Unleashed, I wrote that down, but I technically haven't started that one yet. Crash Forest, About Time. Pokemon Silver, if you guys remember, I actually stopped on that, and it just sort of happened. That just sort of happened. I'm in the like later part of that too, so I'm gonna finish that. Mortal Shell is on here. Technically Kirby Forgotten Lands, even though I look like I checked it off. I didn't do the in-game stuff. And then Eldest Souls, which was that one game I showed only a little bit of footage of before. And so these are all games that I've started. I got so many other games that I've bought since then as well, right? But I'm just trying to finish the ones that I've started before buying or at least starting something new. You know what I mean? So
makes sense.
Yeah, so Alan Wake is new on the list. And yeah, those are my impressions on that. I guess we can move on to another gaming topic real quick. Hideo will become AI after death. This is something you said. I think a lot of people probably are. Yeah, but go ahead.
Yeah, Hideo Kojima says he wants to become an AI. He didn't really talk about how. Like this is about to happen.
Figure it out. If anybody figured it out, he would just make a game. He'll have a game where it's like, okay, this game would just release probably on PC because it'll be universal, and it releases on his death, and like until then he'll just like add paragraphs of content every day into the game or whatever it is, and it's just him, and he'll probably like after he dies, like I wonder if this is like literally what he's probably doing because he's so crazy with the stuff he does where it will even be his deepest darkest secrets and thoughts and confessions and everything he just like loaded into a game or something where you find the Kojima in the game or something and then he just tells you everything. And it's just like it releases on his funeral day. That's what's gonna happen.
Yeah. He said, he hopes to be he hopes to be AI and hopes to be creating video games like long after he leaves this world. So that's his plan. It was just a fun thing to read over break when I was trying to figure out like what's been going on in gaming news. And it was like Hideo says he's going to become AI, and it's like I'm sorry, what? And like and look at it, he just said it. So I wouldn't be surprised if he was the one working on it though. But yeah, that's his plan.
That's interesting. Well, we'll see. Because I think a lot of people are going to be AI. Because I think they're going to, like, that AI stuff is going to really catch on. And really, it's just been collecting everybody's pictures and videos and stuff through social media. They're encouraging so many more people to do that. To, like, make all these, like, little social media stuff. And I'm pretty sure that's where it's going to come from. Which is somewhat conspiratorial. So we can just move on before we get in trouble. Our last actual gaming news on here, right before we get into a couple other topics that I wrote down. You said something that might be considered controversial to somebody out there, but you think every gamer should play a Souls-like game, like just in general. Like I remember I said, yeah, before they get on Twitch, but
oh yeah, no, I mean in general, I feel like every gamer owes it to themselves. They don't even have to complete it. Just get through like a boss or two in any Souls-like game. And here's why. So up until we played Remnant, right? And like some hard games that I've played before that, but mainly I would say Remnant was that turning point.
Yeah.
There would be times where it's like, if I died like 2 to 3 times in a row, I'm about to play something else because I'm getting upset. Like I'm getting upset because like I played the game to like enjoy it and get to, like I said, I played story-based stuff because I'm just enjoying the story and things like that. And I just quit. I get upset and like turn it off and go do something else. And then sometimes I won't even return to the game. Like it's like I'll start playing other stuff and then just never come back because I know that's where I left off on something difficult. Right? But after going through Remnant, which I would say for somebody who really just doesn't want to get through a Dark Souls game, do that one and have a friend and go through the game with a friend. So you have somebody with you. But like going through that and learning, like, okay, you got to learn strategy. You can't just run in. And sometimes it's like, you got to switch up strategy, right? Like I'm a person that, as you saw when I was playing God of War, I'm the person like, who I throw the axe to freeze one person, then I run and fight. Like, let's go. I'm very offensive, but then I had to learn to be defensive. Got to learn to parry. Got to learn that you can't just keep doing the same thing over and over. And you got to have the patience, right? Fighting those, like, honestly, before, like, Remnant, if, from God of War, fighting the, what's that thing called we were talking about earlier? The thing that comes out of the ground, the skeleton thing that's on fire.
Draugr from God of
Yeah,
War.
those things.
The hateful.
Yeah, the hateful. If you like, if I would have like before, I already know if I would have fought the thing and died, it'd be like, okay, let me try this again. What's going on? And then if I would have died a second time, I wouldn't have gone back to that area. Like I would have been like, I'm done with this and like moving on and everything. Like I would quit on a lot of things because it's just too difficult. It's not what I'm trying to play it for. But getting through Remnant, where it's just like the game's difficult, it's gonna be difficult. You gotta die, you gotta have to retry, deal with it. And like going through this and having that patience, learning like, okay, I can't just attack the boss the same way I'm gonna attack a minion. Let's learn this attack pattern. Let's stick through it. Figure out, oh, it's gonna do this here, this here. That sense of accomplishment from like getting through something difficult and everything.
Yeah.
I feel like after getting through something like a Dark Souls like game, even though the other games are easier, I still get that sense of satisfaction, but I'm not quitting on them. I think every gamer, like, there's a lot of times where you're just gonna get frustrated and you want to quit stuff. And you get like real mad with the way things go. Take the time, go through at least like 2 bosses in one of these games. I'm sure you can get one of them on the cheap or free, and go just get through a boss or 2. Really challenge yourself to play something extra difficult, and I guarantee it's gonna make a lot of everything else you play better. And like, at least for me, I was more willing a lot of stuff now to like lose and not quit. It's just like, I'll get it next time. I gotta learn better. Let's learn some new strategy because I will win. Versus just going, well, I have such a backlog of games. Why should I sit here and like struggle at this one spot for like 2 hours and then never be able to move on or run into another spot where I struggle? I'm just gonna go play something else now. I'm done with this game. I've played enough. So I think every gamer owes it to themselves. And again, like I said, you don't need to get through a whole, like if you get through a whole thing, cool. I don't think you need to get through a whole thing, but like 2 to 3 bosses, I think is at least every gamer owes it to themselves to do that.
I think so I do think you should play at least one full game like that by yourself from start to finish. I think that's probably important for everybody because it'll teach them patience. You'll be more inclined to play other games at harder difficulties. I would suggest if you start with Remnant, definitely go directly to Code Vein next. That was what I did, but the good thing about that one is Remnant, you depend on a team in a way, where Code Vein also you have a team, but it's like it's the second character is AI or an NPC. And so it's really still just you in a way. And then from there, you transition into the next game, which is probably Elden Ring or something, where you are playing and it is just you. Now, some of these games, I've seen the cheeses out there where people still drop in-game weapons to you, or you still summon somebody in for a boss and that kind of thing. Like, I've seen people still do that, but I think you still owe it to yourself to play at least just one game. It doesn't even have to be Dark Souls. It could be any of the Souls-like games that came out already or getting ready to come out, like Thymesia that had already came out, or Wolong Destiny that's getting ready to come out. Yeah, Neo 1 and 2. Any one of them. God of War at a higher difficulty. They take those type of elements as well. Those in-game bosses. The Hateful is a very good example. You owe it to yourself to get through it, no matter how long it takes. I said at the beginning of the show, it took me over an hour for the first one, but that's like something that's normal. You just saw me struggle through the bear fight, I guess, because I didn't know the controls. But that didn't take me an hour. It took me like 15 minutes or something. I still got through it. So just get through it, and you learn patience. You become a better gamer. I can tell you, after playing The Remnant, I think I finished Breath of the Wild afterwards. The timeline is kind of fuzzy, but I remember when I got to even Age of Calamity just now, like it was a breeze. There was some parts where they went Souls like towards the end of Age of Calamity. Not really spoilers because I'm not going to mention what happened, but basically there is a boss where you going to have your A game. And it's the most like silliest one because the boss is like kind of smaller than you on some like Kid Buu type junk. But if you don't know what you're doing, you not gonna beat that. So like I approached this Souls like it's like I knew how to pace, I knew how to create space in between, move around, and I was giving it to that boss. And it's like that was Age of Calamity on Nintendo. I remember Breath of the Wild bosses, those Ganon bosses were like a breeze. And I beat multiple ones in the first try. Encountering them because I had just got done playing Souls games, right? So you become a better gamer, you become a better fighter in games just by doing that. So yeah, I don't know what the title of this podcast was going to be, but I might actually just title it about the Souls game. Like everybody should play a harder game or a Souls game. Because other than that, I really didn't have a title anyway. So it's late in here. This technically isn't the main event, though. We have some other stuff that's outside of gaming. And I do want to mention one more gaming topic real quick before we go to that, which is somewhat of a surprise topic because as of this recording, another video should have just dropped on the channel live, and it actually says in the title that I'm okay with Nintendo charging $70. Now I want to get my co-host's opinion on this. He'll probably watch it later, but live I would like to know if he agrees on me, because within the video my excuse for that was it's okay if Nintendo starts charging $70 for, let's say, their Switch version 2 games. I don't think they're going to do it for the Switch. And to clarify, I don't think it's okay for games on the base Switch right now in OLED that just all of a sudden is $70. But when they introduce Switch 2 and probably Mario Kart 9 and then Odyssey 2, I think those are going to be starters on that system. I think they're going to introduce the $70 price. All I'm saying is it's okay if the hardware Switch 2 is matching the Series X and PS5. That's where I say, okay, charge $70 for those games, and you can also charge $500 for your system. And I wonder if you agree with me with that.
I don't think any game should be $70. Okay. So it's hard to do that. However, I see what you're saying. Mm-hmm. It's allowed to charge what the other systems charge if its hardware can keep up with the other systems.
Yeah, if you're matching the quality of the performance. That's where I was coming from.
Even if, like, because they have their exclusives, even if they're not like sharing games with the other ones and everything, right. I feel like their exclusive games are enough to justify being on an equal level. Mm-hmm. It's just graphically they would also need to get there. And the hardware needs to be really stronger. It doesn't even need to be like, I don't need a Mario game that looks like 4K, but like I need the system to be able to handle like heavy stuff, you know.
Now, that title must have grabbed somebody's attention, because I'm looking at my phone. It's starting to get a view where the video before that was a dud. That bad boy flopped, but that's okay. That's okay. But I did say I wanted them to have 4K. I did say that for me.
My other issue, though, it should have 4K. It needs to be able to handle that. I take that back. It does need to be able to handle 4K.
I said it also needs to maintain like mostly 60 frames, but I also want to see something go 120 frames, because that's what the other systems do.
My other issue, though, the trade-off is that like PlayStation will or like Xbox, like they'll have games for 70, but then like at some point you can pick it up for like 30 or 20 because they're gonna drop in price. Where like Nintendo doesn't.
Yeah.
So like, because they don't drop in price, they're gonna get 60, and then if they do drop in price, they're gonna get 50. Where now if it's like 70, their drop in price puts it at 60.
Yeah.
And I feel like because they don't go on sale as much as everybody else, right? They don't drop those prices like that. Like a game could be 6-7 years old and it's still full price, like if it was on the digital store. So like, because of that, that's where I disagree with the 70. Okay. Because they're not gonna, because they're gonna be making their money. Like at some point, if you want that game, you will have to pay full price. It doesn't matter if you get it at like launch or if you wait, you're gonna be paying full price or close to full price. Whereas for the other ones, they're really only getting that money at the beginning.
Yeah, I had all Nintendo content this week, and I knew that last video was going to be the one that would be controversial, even though the main video that I was centering everything around was the Age of Calamity video. I had the most fun with that one, but I know this one's going to get viewed for a different reason. But if people watch the contents of it, you would know that I'm basically just saying it's okay because they're matching the quality of everything else. But I also mentioned that it's probably inevitable. I don't see them not charging that $70 when they announced that Switch 2. I just don't want the Switch 2 to all of a sudden have the power of a PS4 or Xbox One. I feel like it should be right up there, right next to the PS5 and Series X. And it's like, maybe I'm asking too much, quote unquote, is what people would say. But I was like, they should. And I understand like it will cost more. And I'm just saying like, go ahead and charge the $500. But at least like you don't have the situation that we're starting to have in the past year or two with some of these other games where it's starting to be like consistently, you know, like performance issues across the board now that people are just choosing to ignore. It's like the fans deserve to not have to choose to ignore that. They should just play those games at better, you know, fidelity, better frame rate. I mentioned in the video for a lot of those games that were coming out, they don't have the frame rate or fidelity. Like you don't have the 4K or the 60 frames or the 30 frames in some cases. So I'd rather they fix that, because one thing I didn't mention in the video that I could probably mention right now, they do not have an excuse to make a Switch 2 less powerful than that Steam Deck. If they do that, they're done. If they do that, they shoot themselves overnight, right in the foot. They have to make it better than the Steam Deck. Like it's almost confirmed in a way where that system has to be better spec-wise than the Steam Deck. It just has to be. If not, they are in serious trouble. Like they will be in trouble with what everybody's doing. But I would want them to make sure it's like twice as good, not 10% better or some weird spec wise where when everybody's like comparing it on a sheet of paper, it's like, oh, it's a little bit better, but you're charging so much more. It's like, no, put the hardware in it. Put the hardware in it. I don't care. And make that thing 500 so that we don't have all these other issues. At least at that point, then you can, without a shadow of a doubt, blame the developer, you know, at that point.
Right.
You know, and games can also be like the third party can be day and date on Switch instead of them trying to figure out what they could take from the game in order to port it over there like a year later or something.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm coming from with it. I know there will be people who probably go in there and dislike it right away and not listen to it. That comes with the territory. I'm not worried about that. That's part of the job, basically. But yeah, now here's another thing. I never mentioned in the video that I was going to buy the games at 70. You already know if it's too expensive.
So you want them to charge 70, but you ain't gonna buy it at 70. What is that? No, that's a horrible thing. If you go push for 70, like they're gonna be like, well, this guy said it's fine, so let's do it, and then you not gonna buy it.
I said I'm okay with it, but I don't buy games at 70 that much. I only buy a few of them if they're really, really good. So okay, let's do an example. So let's say somehow a Switch 2 was set to be launched this April and Tears of the Kingdom was $70 if you get the Switch 2 version. Like, I would probably want to go for that. And I know that would mean that if they're doing what PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4 was doing, that means you pay for the extra system and you pay for the $70 game. So that's like $570. That might seem extreme. I would want to go for that particular game. Only because, just like with God of War, I was like, okay, the God of War game was probably worth $70. It would still be the same because, like, you know, the same situation now as before, where it's like you pick and choose which game you're spending $70 on, right? Like we had like a issue with I think it was Callisto Protocol episodes back. I think it was 12.
Yeah.
Because they were charging 70 on one system and 60 on another, and we were looking like, well, what's the difference and why are you doing that? So like those moments will probably still come up. All I'm saying is that here's my thing. I think they're gonna do it regardless. I really think that all of a sudden it's the second 2025 roll arounds or probably 2024 that they're just gonna be like, bam, it's $70. Because they're gonna be the only ones not doing it. Because the third party doing it, Xbox announced that they're doing it, and PlayStation was already doing it. They will be the only ones not doing it. It's like, and this is Nintendo we talking about. They charged you $50 for an N64 controller last year. Or the year before, I forgot. Right? They're the only ones not doing it. So I think they're going to do it regardless. All I'm saying is I'm okay with it if the hardware matches the other systems. So when people start watching it, like, please understand that part. And don't just say, oh, this dude is advocating for more. No. The hardware got to match. It still got to match. If it don't, I mean, it's probably going to be Steam Deck all day. If they pull a fast one, where how powerful you think that Switch 2 going to be? It's like, I know I'm probably asking too much for it to be at the level of a PS5 and Series X. It's probably not going to be if we're really realistic. But where will we put it in as far as like where will we put it? You saying it's still going to be 1080p? I feel like that's, if we're looking at the timeline of it's going to be 2024 or 2025, are they really going to release a system that doesn't have 4K? Like that's how I'm looking at it. At 2024 or 2025, are you really going to release a system that's not consistent 60 frames across all of them?
They might.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying it better at the very least be head and shoulders better than that Steam Deck. The Steam Deck set a certain bar because that game was like people were showing off how you're playing God of War on the Steam Deck, the first one, Elden Ring on it, Witcher on it, without compromising that much, and it still looked really good. So, yo, it better be head and shoulders over the Steam Deck at the very least. So they have to do something. So that's all I'm saying.
At most, it's probably going to be the same power as a Steam Deck, but you can display it on a TV. That's it.
It cannot match it. It has to be more.
Gotta match it. I doubt it.
Bro, Nintendo better look outside of the window. Like, it always seems like they just doing something that's like completely different. Like when they introduced that Ethernet core, it's like, what are we doing? But yeah, so yeah, we'll see on that. Moving right along, we're almost done. I think there are no more gaming topics. We could talk real briefly about Hasbro real quick. Who needs new toys is what you said.
So we've talked about Power Ranger stuff earlier before, and I've been seeing a video real quick. And a couple people have been saying it that they rely too much on the Saban era, like the early stuff, Zordon era, where like when I was looking over like with this Lightning collection, right? Yeah. Like there's no Turbo, there's no Jungle Fury, there's no like RPM stuff. Like there's none of those.
Yeah.
Mystic Force like are being made. And as they're doing this Lightning collection, people are saying we want new ones. And I saw a video that even explained too, where like you have some of the older Rangers coming back and like he watches, like it's an early 20-year-old, and he watches with his little brother, and his
Right,
like little
right,
brother's
right.
like, "Hey, who's that?" And he has to be like, "I don't really know," because these are people that like his older sisters who are in their 30s watch, right? Like, so it's just like he can't even really like teach him heavily about some of these people because he didn't really grow up with these people. So it's just like we're like there's so many seasons just ignored. Like I would love to see some more Jungle Fury stuff, but like whatever. But like they do that, and instead of releasing new stuff, they've already now started doing remastered, and they started with the original Blue Ranger, where they made a better looking one. And we already talked about how many times they released the Megazord from the original, and now they're just remastering the Mighty Morphin ones in general. And it's just like they're not doing like the two that I just saw announced was the remastered Blue Ranger and an invisible version of the Phantom Ranger, even though they just released the Phantom Ranger. And it's like, who needs new stuff? We're just gonna keep releasing the same ones over and over and over.
Some of it was starting to look ridiculous when they was calling it the remaster. I'm like, homie, you got like 4 versions of it because they still have where they can't call it the movie version because of some sort of licensing, but they basically put glitter on them. And it was like the glitter versions of them, which was like basically their movie version without them saying it was like their season 3 version. And then the ones that I wanted the most, which was the ninjas. And I was like, once I got past all the ninjas, I got all 6 and I even got the 7th one, which was Cat. Right. And so it was like, once I got past all of that, I was pretty much done. Now, I'm still on the fence about getting Dragon Zord. Dragon Zord has officially been released and I can just kind of buy it. And like I could buy it right now. It'll be here in 4 or 5 days, but I'm still not really wanting it. I'm probably still going to get it eventually, but I'm in no hurry really.
Yeah.
Some of their other Megazords, I mean, they kind of skipped around too. I was thinking they were going to go straight to Thunder because I would have got them, but they went all the way over to the space. And when I saw they was charging the same thing they was charging for the original, and I'm like, it's the space one. It's only one. It's all in one. It's like, why is that $165?
Because people will buy it.
It was just kind of crazy. It was like you could justify the original ones for some people. It usually goes downhill from that. Like there's no way you want 165 for each one. Like I could see if it was a cool 99, it's still a stretch, but it makes sense with today's day and age. But 165 for the space one, like man, if you don't get on, and so like It just kind of threw me for a loop when I was seeing some of it because they were also doing their Street Fighter crossover stuff. Some of them were looking ridiculous. And then they had their crossover with the Ninja Turtles where they were just basically just making up stuff. Like I know it was some of it was like in the comics too, but it just looked like they was basically just making up stuff. Then they just like, didn't they do the, I almost wanted to say the G word swap, but it's not. It's the suit swap between the red and the yellow. If you remember that, I was just like, okay, what are we doing? Like just, but yeah, they don't do turbo. It wouldn't no turbo whatsoever. Some of the other ones, like some of the other seasons that they did do, they didn't even do the girls for them yet. And it's like, but they're just doing all these other ones.
One, gender's not a bad word. Gender swap one.
I didn't want to say that because I don't know how YouTube is with it. But yeah.
Oh well, no, but that's a term. It's like even when you gender swap cosplay, like that's a thing. Yeah. But like that was what they did in the comic books. They switched. Like something happened on some alien planet and their powers got switched and they had to learn how to use each other's weapons.
Yeah.
But like there was no reason to release that, and it was like they just did it. And then they release, of course, like you said, they have the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle ones, which was the comic books. They had the Cobra Kai like release for some reason, which is just the Rangers, Cobra Kai people. But my thing is, even with all of those, they're all still the original season. They're all still MMPR. Like they're still not like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles crossed over with In Space. And it's still MMPR that they're constantly doing this stuff with.
I think we forgot to mention too, also, they had this thing, which is still MMPR, but it was like you can create your own face as well.
Yes.
They were
on
doing
an
that.
MMPR, but they also did it with the Mandalorian, I think, and stuff. But yeah, MMPR specifically.
They had like two random actors from whatever they were from, like on the Ninja Rangers as well. It was the white and the pink one. I forgot who they were, but they did that, and it was just like, oh,
Wasn't that Cobra Kai?
That might still be Cobra Kai. I think
Yeah.
so. I'm like, what are we doing? But yeah, no Turbo, no other thing. Now they did do the Alien Rangers, I think, just recently.
Yep.
Which I think is still more season 3, which is still technically MMPR. But yeah, it was just strange. Like Hasbro is still, they're somewhat in tuned with what fans would want, because there are certain things that are coming out that I never thought I would see. But then at the same time, it's still heavily relying on what they think is what's going to make the most money for them. And it's like, it's one of those corporate things where like every corporate entity does that, where they just always get it wrong. They just like, they always get it wrong. And they're doing that now with this one. It was just like even it's baffling to me that when they spam Tommy as much as they spam Tommy, that they never did the Turbo one though. Like they kept spamming him everywhere else, but never did Turbo. It's weird. All because Turbo didn't make the money they wanted back in the 90s or something. Like, it was just really strange. It's like, how long ago was that? Like, what are we talking about? Like, yeah. What were you going to say? Go ahead.
I wonder if part of that, too, because even the show doesn't treat it that way. Like, when they would always, even in Dino Thunder, when he, like, did the stuff where they came back, they ignored Turbo again. I wonder if it's, they want people to associate Turbo with TJ and not Tommy, but I think you're probably right. It's because it didn't make the money, so they just like try to ignore that season for whatever reason.
It's silly though. It's silly because it's so many years later. It's like, what are we doing? But you have anything else you want to say about Power Rangers? I guess we could move on. I know in earlier episodes I was covering that one Megazord. I kind of just stopped. I still have it bookmarked on my like computer, or on my like browser, but I don't really look at it no more. I know I mentioned that they did create another one that they did price at $100. I guess it was just to get people to shut up or something, which was like nobody asked for, because you still have this Ascension Project one. So it's like, what are we doing? But yeah. So I don't know what's going on. Very last topic, if you're done with Power Rangers. Technically 2 in 1, because I just wanted to mention, because well yeah, go ahead.
I still had that other topic real quick about the smell in anime.
Oh yeah, I think I do see that here. Go ahead.
Yeah, so there's this new thing that's being made for some reason. It's called an aroma shooter. So the idea is for like movies and games. It has a bunch of little cartridges with a bunch of like 100 different like smells in it. And you wear the thing like around your neck. And it like Bluetooths up with like this, like whatever's happening on screen, and it'll flip to that cartridge and like pull in air from like around, and then blow like the fan out. But like it'll like the cartridge will release a little spray, and it'll spray the like smell. So like, for example, if like things are burning, then it'll like spray a burning smell and everything for like 4D, I guess, experience. But like in the advertisement, when it showed it, it was like anime, and it showed what people who don't watch anime assume anime is. I'll put it that way. With like your very stereotype, what are you trying to display here? And then Cyberpunk, Edge Runners. And I was like, I don't understand what point you're trying to make, and I don't know why people would want this. But if you've been itching to like really be like fully immersed into anime and video games, and to the point where you need to smell it as well, that's gonna exist soon. So you have that.
The first thing I thought of was the H word. So yeah, it is what it is. But
unfortunately,
and I don't want to smell that, because
I don't either.
I don't want to smell that.
But I guess there's someone, statistically there has to be at least one. They're making it. So
well, people buy certain things that's air inside of a jar, but we can go ahead and move on from that very, very last topic. We are probably going to hit the 2 hour mark. I thought it was going to be at like 1.5 hours, but yeah, hit the like button. Very last topic. I wanted to give our very tiny fan base of wrestling fans a couple news because we haven't talked wrestling in a long time. So I thought I'd mention this real quick. The first thing is Sasha Banks is now, I guess, known as Mercedes Moné or Mercedes Moné.
Monet.
She debuted in New Japan Pro Wrestling just recently at their biggest show, which is the Tokyo Dome Wrestle Kingdom show, which reminds me I gotta get back into wrestling because that's like one of my favorite shows. But she debuted there and she's going to be fighting, I guess, in the women's division. I'm so behind in wrestling because I did not know that New Japan had a women's division because they did not show it before. So all of a sudden they got a women's division.
People are assuming, I think it's going to really tie into Stardom.
Oh,
that's their women's division. Really, is they have their own show. Like, is it Stardom or Shine?
I don't know. Probably.
Anyway, but I feel like that's where it's gonna head.
And then my funniest, this is like a meme topic, but if we could crack a joke about this real quick because it's triggering a few people. But Vince McMahon is planning his return.
Trash.
And it seems like it's about to happen because he's making moves that. Like I was under the impression he didn't have anything in WWE no more, and he was just maybe he collected money, but all of a sudden I'm seeing reports that he's on the board again. Yeah, like he put himself on the board, and all of a sudden he's talking about he coming back. I'm like, what this?
He was a major shareholder, so he still had a lot of power in whenever he wanted. It was just he stepped down, but his shareholder position allowed him to just like, I guess, pop back in. I don't want this like at all. Like,
it reminded me of what we just said. I was like, what if everybody all of a sudden try to leave AEW because they think Triple H is in charge, and by the time they get there, he's like, bam, I'm back, and then it gets stuck again. Like, yo, it's actually about to happen.
Fired. You're gonna be a jobber now. I want to change your gimmick and your name. And just like it's just, I don't like this at all.
He really just came out of nowhere.
Like, just be a fan and just sit in the crowd or like stay open. Like, I was very interested to see. This is like supposed to be Triple H's full year, right? That's what was supposed to happen. Where like he took over last year. Let's face it, the biggest story was a Vince story. It was the Roman Reigns stuff. So like. This would have been the year where I think it was going to like maybe come to like a close, all that type of stuff. We got to really see what Triple H can do for a full year. Vince said, nah, I'm back. Never mind. Like, he's just going to ruin it. If he gets the head of creative again and you hear about like how he's just tearing up scripts again and everything like that, I think I will personally be done with WWE.
So crazy. I didn't think he'd just be able to waltz back in whenever he wanted to. I had no idea because the way he left before it was because of all these legal things going on with him, and the way it seemed too, it don't even seem like because the news is that he's trying to come back, but there's no more news about any of that. Like there's no news of him possibly like facing jail time or any of this stuff. Like it's just all of a sudden that's quiet. It's almost like it didn't even happen. And he's like, yo, I'm back. I'm back. Let's go. Out of nowhere. He plotting. he is coming, I guess.
Like I already know it's like if Brock Lesnar wins the Royal Rumble, then I know, or Goldberg wins. Vince is in charge. I'm officially done. Like I'll be done. It's fine. I don't need to. I already only watched pay-per-views, and I've been meaning to get back into NXT, and I keep up with what's happening each week. But like if he's taking back over creative, personally, I don't care.
NXT too, man. He's gonna be in charge of all of that.
Like I don't care anymore. It's hard for me to get back into NXT. NXT was the one that I watched, and when he took over, it just kind of soured all of it.
Everybody's like, as soon as you come back, all of a sudden, everybody gonna lose their last name.
Everybody's
not smart enough to remember last names anymore again.
And like,
suffering succotash.
This person's too short. And it's just as soon as I hear about that, if that happens, I'm done. Personally, I can't.
I
can't anymore. I just won't watch.
It sounded like he just back because they said all of a sudden he shoehorned him. So the official news is he shoehorned himself back on the board of directors, just like out of nowhere.
I just need him to stay away from creative.
He said he is. Of course, he gonna be a creative. Even if he's not creative. I have a feeling he would just walk back in there and sit right back in his same spot behind the gorilla position. I'm pretty sure he's gonna.
Why can't he go do something else? Like he just ruined everything.
Okay, I'm done. So I don't know if the story is going to be development or is it just what everybody's saying. But if more news comes out, we'll probably cover it next week, I guess. But yeah, any last words for the show? Anything you want to say to Vince McMahon personally?
If you go home, stay home, go home, stay home. My final message for everybody is like, know your limits. When you're done, just be done. Yeah. Like, you don't have to prove anything to anybody. Stay home. Yeah. Go home, play a Dark Souls game. You can play WWE. You can go play 2K General Manager mode. You can play General Manager mode or Universe mode and do whatever creative stuff you want. You can just
go back in time with some of the older games too and do it that way too.
Yep, and just have fun. Have all your big beefy people and just like do what you want to do. But that's my final words. I ain't got nothing else.
All right. Well, I'll end it here. My final words. I'm actually going to stop saying this phrase because it sounds so silly. But I got to say it one more time, at least for right now, until I figure out something else. So don't forget to wash the back of your ears, especially you dirty content creators, where I see some of y'all on camera, and I'm not going to say no names. We are done. Yes. And I will see you next week. Everyone have a great day. Peace.